afternoon and welcome to Wise Women Weekdays. My name is Lucinda Wilde.
And my name is Danielle.
And we are going to be talking a little bit more about alcohol today.
We certainly are.
Yes, because your dad was an oncologist, is that right?
My dad was an oncologist and he never drank because, bless him, he had an alcohol allergy.
So how did that manifest?
So before I was born, he was dating who he said was a gorgeous young girl, and he was invited to dinner with her father, which in those days was a really big deal.
Yes.
And before dinner, the dad invited him to have port in front of the fire in their living room. And so my dad obviously felt very honoured and a bit nervous, so he drank his glass of port and he promptly fell asleep at the fire.
Oh.
And he slept through the whole dinner. And the relationship ended very quickly and he was never invited again. And that stuck with him. And he did try it out again at home. And if he drinks even half a glass of something, he falls asleep. And so because my dad didn't drink, and he was a really great dad and I loved him a lot, I just thought, well, if daddy doesn't drink, I won't drink. And so I never drank. So I'm speaking through science. Everything I say will be based on scientific research and observation, but actually not from my own experience.
Okay. So what I'll be saying is from lived experience, from scientific research, because both of my degrees essentially are in the study of addictions one way or another. And from working in drug treatment services where I gathered empirical data.
Yeah, because that's the most powerful way to see what alcohol can do to people.
Yes. And in my experience, alcohol is the drug, because it is a drug, not a drink. It's a psychoactive substance, is the one that brings people to their knees the hardest.
I would agree with you completely. It's so pernicious because if somebody is a heroin addict or is told, avoid heroin, it's very dangerous, it's a dangerous drug. Everybody will agree with you. And there's very little, as far as I'm aware, social pressure to become a heroin addict.
In fact, it's stigmatised, so people don't want to become heroin addicts.
Exactly. But if somebody says, I don't want to drink alcohol, it's like, oh, come on, just one drink. Come and join us down the pub. It's like you're almost a spoil sport. It's almost, I would say alcohol is almost like the social glue that brings people together.
Yes.
That's, having a drink after work.
Yes.
I mean, the social part of it is brilliant.
Yeah.
But the fact that you then almost have to drink in order to be one of the gang.
Yes.
Knowing what I know now about the consequences of regular drinking is dreadful. It's terrible. Nobody should ever be forced to drink.
So what are the consequences? Well, I know what the consequences of regular drinking are, but let's talk to the viewers about that. What are the consequences for women that drink 10 units of wine a week?
Thanks for asking, Lucy. We were mentioning this earlier, and before I give you the answer, guess at home. So a woman who will drink between 1 to 2 glasses of wine, or the equivalent of beer, every night, every week. So that means between 7 to 10 units of alcohol a week. By how much would you think that increases her risk of breast cancer? Because when I saw the results, I was absolutely shocked.
It shocked me, actually. Yeah, I
So,
wasn't quite prepared for it to be that high.
No. So 8 to 10 units a week, regularly. So that's not just in 1 week and then you don't drink for 6 months. It's if you regularly drink that much every week, it will increase your lifetime risk of breast cancer by 70%.
Wow.
So 70% is almost like condemning you to have breast cancer.
Yes.
It's just shocking.
So, I mean, but a glass of Prosecco or, a nice white wine or something like that, it doesn't look like it's going to do you that much damage. It's very seductive.
It is. And also, so we know that about 80% or more of the entire UK population drink regularly. And what I found really mean about alcohol, which I, let's say, just have learnt scientifically, is that people who will drink maybe just 1 glass a night, so a glass of wine with your dinner, no more than that, but that you do it regularly every week and every month, those people will already have raised levels of cortisol, which is our stress hormone, constantly, all the time. So feel a little more anxious, a little more nervous every day for no reason at all, simply because they're not sitting there drinking alcohol.
Yes.
And when they do drink the alcohol, because even one glass, especially the first glass, will raise levels of both serotonin
Yeah.
and of dopamine, two hormones that make us feel really happy
Yeah.
and comfy and just, give us deep, deep well-being, people crave the glass of alcohol more.
Yeah.
So that's why people who drink, let's say, one glass a night, one beer every night, crave that beer to relax. Somebody who has never drunk doesn't need a glass of alcohol to relax. They're beautifully relaxed just by being.
Yes.
But it's life is fine because no chemical like the alcohol has invaded their hormonal balance and brought it out of whack and made constant levels of cortisol much higher than they should be. Because on waking, we all want higher levels of cortisol because that gives us the energy to wake up in the morning. But then the cortisol should settle down and go down again, and especially in the evening, it would be at its lowest of the entire daytime, and we start to feel sleepy and we relax and we want to go to bed. But not for somebody who drinks regularly. Someone who drinks regularly has raised levels of cortisol even in the evening, and so they feel anxious and nervous, and they just need a glass of whiskey or beer or wine or anything just to take the edge off. And that is the alcohol doing it to that person.
Yes.
And I think that's very important to know, because if you do manage to stop drinking for a few months, your body's wonderful hormone, let's say, orchestra will balance itself again, and your cortisol will go back to normal levels, and that feeling of anxiousness, nervousness, oh my God, I need a drink, that goes away.
Yes. And also when you abstain from alcohol for a significant period of time, the neural pathways reset.
And reset, exactly.
And everything about life feels better. You think clearly, function better, sleep better, food tastes better. Everything about life gets better. And I'm not preaching, this is my lived experience.
Observation, yeah.
When I have even just a small amount of alcohol, I do feel it the next day. I had 2 glasses of champagne last night, which is really out of character for me. I very rarely drink. But I felt that. When I got into bed, I was more awake than I normally am because my cortisol and dopamine and everything was spiked. And this morning I was like, it's hard work getting up.
That's another very good point. Often when we've had a drink or two, and again, observation,
Yes.
people fall asleep more easily. But it's not deep sleep. You never get that deep, restorative sleep that allows your body to regenerate and your brain to regenerate. People call it hypnotic sleep. You sleep and you wake up, and you sleep and wake up. But in the morning, people who sleep after a night of drinking are nowhere near as refreshed as people who go to sleep without any alcohol in their system.
Yes.
It's a huge difference. And over time, I guess you can get used to it and forget. So, but it's a scientific fact.
Yeah. And there's also something that I didn't know this until I started working in alcohol treatment services. For the average person, depending on size and weight, it takes about an hour to process 1 unit of alcohol. So for someone of my size to drink a bottle of wine, that's roughly about 9 units of alcohol. That's 9 hours, maybe more because I'm small, to process that alcohol. So if I drank that through the course of the evening, I'd still have alcohol in my system until roughly lunchtime the next day.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
the effects would be lingering, and then if I was to go home and do that again, I would have a short window of time without alcohol in my body before I went and did it again.
So I found how the alcohol affects our hormones really fascinating.
Yes.
Because when you have, and you can let me know if this is true or not,
Okay.
because according to the scientific experts, when you have your first drink, it immediately really spikes serotonin and dopamine.
Yes.
And so you just feel relaxed and wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't last very long. Literally within, you could say, half an hour to 45 minutes, those levels start to decrease and they just go down and down and down. And so you start to feel more tired and less happy. And the only way to keep those levels up is to keep drinking. And so people want to keep drinking just to get that spike again.
Yeah.
And again, if you do that over weeks and months and years, the amount you have to drink, or a person has to drink, to get that same happy feeling, it goes up because the body kind of gets used to drinking, and so all the receptors get slightly dumbed down a bit.
Yeah.
And so you need more alcohol just to reach the same level of happiness that you did initially. Is that right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would also, when people do that, they start to become addicted to alcohol.
Yes.
And the important thing to remember with alcohol addiction, alcohol detoxes are one of the only detoxes that can actually cause death.
That can kill you.
That an alcohol detox can cause you to die.
So the detox is so toxic that
Yeah.
with some people it could prove fatal.
It could, if they
Wow.
did it unsupervised. And the line for alcoholic drinking is above the recommended daily allowance, which is 2 to 3 units of alcohol. It used to be higher for men, but now they've levelled it out for men a day. So if you have to have that drink in the evening to feel good, or at lunchtime, or whenever. There's a chance that you could be moving towards alcohol dependency. If you are drinking more than a bottle of wine a night, 9 units, then a medical detox is recommended.
Yeah.
So things like Stoptober and what's the January one called?
Is it dry January?
Dry January. That's got risks associated with it. If someone's gone heavy, say drinking from the end of October to the beginning of January, bottle of wine a night, maybe more, Christmas parties, getting drunk on a regular basis, they're putting their health at risk by just stopping.
So if you, I suppose, again, you know much more about what to do to stop drinking safely. And I think there are good centres and great advisors
Yes.
out there. So if anybody wants to stop, I think it's a brilliant idea and you should. But if you've been a regular drinker, it's always really good to get advice,
Yes. I mean,
professional advice.
when I was working in an alcohol treatment service, we recommended to our clients that they didn't just stop. They gradually tapered down so their body could naturally adjust to the reduction in alcohol. Or they have an inpatient detox, which I've witnessed this. It's not fun.
No, I'm sure it isn't. I know this from SSRI, so antidepressant
Yes.
addiction, because antidepressants, I know from personal family experience, are incredibly addictive.
Yes.
And apparently the only really safe way to wean yourself of those is to have micro reductions of the amount you take over a year.
Yes.
So the body can have time and peace to adjust and doesn't have this awful shock of suddenly being deprived of the chemical that has completely changed a person's brain chemistry.
Yes. And that's the same with alcohol.
It's the same
it
with alcohol.
completely alters brain
It
chemistry.
does, and that's scientifically proven.
But that's interesting that doctors, you can go to the doctor, well in my experience, I can go to the doctor, say I feel depressed, and I can leave with a prescription of SSRIs.
Yes.
I'm told that I have been told they are non-addictive, which is not true. They don't tell the patient about the detox and the complications and the side effects.
I think it's a little naughty to say they're non-addictive.
Yes.
Because I know several people who are addicted to them.
Yes.
And I actually listened to a talk in London a few years ago organised by a wonderful American psychologist, and she had speakers speaking of their own personal experience trying to wean themselves off an SSRI addiction. And one man who admittedly had a genetic, let's say, genome type that affects about 15% of the world population, and this 15% find that going off SSRIs is so appalling that something in their brain chemistry actually changes.
Yes.
So he had a voice in his head when he came off the SSRIs that told him to kill his son.
Oh my
And he
God.
went through it methodically like a pathological cold-blooded murderer, and he killed his son. And then he phoned the police, this was in America, after he'd done it, and he said, I've killed my son, and he waited for them. And he said it took him about 3 days of detox in prison, sitting in prison, until lucidity dawned on him, and he realised what he'd done. And of course then his world completely imploded, and now he goes around the world speaking at these conferences to try and alert other people of the terrifying dangers of becoming addicted to some chemical drug that could, with these 15% of people, actually make you do something so violent and so dangerous you'll never get over it.
Yeah, because prescription medications, well, this is another episode, I
Yeah,
believe, because
yeah.
there's so much to say on it. But yeah, back to alcohol, the same thing happens with alcohol.
Yeah,
It alters neural pathways,
absolutely.
chemical makeup in the brain, and when people come off it, they can be absolutely broken. Not to mention wet brain, for people that have long-term alcohol use, it actually causes neurological decline.
Yeah. What I found was interesting is, first of all, yes, alcohol shrinks our brain.
Yes.
So regular alcohol consumption, even if it's just a few drinks a week,
Yes.
2 or 3 drinks a week, it shrinks the brain and it thins the cerebral cortex. So you're less intelligent basically, your brain functions less well. Another thing that alcohol does, which again I found fascinating, is that it kills beneficial gut flora.
Yes.
So you know, in the old days when somebody had a wound, you would splash whiskey or
Yes.
vodka over it to basically kill the negative bacteria.
Yes.
Well, beneficial gut flora are more readily killed by alcohol than the pro-inflammatory pathogenic ones that are also affected to some degree by alcohol, but they survive far more readily than our beneficial ones. Our beneficial gut flora gets nuked by
Yes.
regular alcohol consumption, and that's what can lead to leaky gut.
Yes.
It can lead to irritable bowel syndrome, IBS,
Yes.
and then of course those conditions cause pro-inflammatory bacteria and undigested proteins to go right through the gut wall, into the
Yes.
bloodstream, through the blood-brain barrier, up into the brain, where they cause massive inflammation.
Yes.
And what I found was crazy, and I'm sorry if I'm being too scientific now, but I just found it fascinating. So the alcohol that we drink is called ethanol.
Yes.
And for the body to be able to metabolize it, the ethanol, which is a poison, is converted to, I'm not going to say I've lost the name now. It's aceto something, and that has to be converted again by the NAD pathway to acetone, which the person can absorb. But the middle bit, the middle step, is a poison to the body and is a poison to the brain, but it's an addictive poison. So it's crazy because it actually kills brain cells, but it makes you crave the alcohol more.
Yeah.
How does that even work?
It's scary that this drug is available on pretty much every high street, every eating establishment, most coffee houses. You know, there are more places in the town that I live in that sell alcohol
Yes.
than healthy food.
Yes. And we know that farming chemicals kill beneficial gut flora.
Yes.
But who tells you that a glass of wine a night, 7 glasses of wine or even 5 glasses a week, will kill your beneficial gut flora and dramatically increase your risk of leaky gut and even of insulin resistance? Because the way the alcohol is processed in the liver, it creates massive liver inflammation, and that is linked to insulin resistance, so you can't absorb sugar anymore properly.
So does that lead to diabetes
Yes.
type 2?
Yes.
And that could lead to the loss of legs?
Yes. Oh, proper
Yes.
diabetes can lead to gout and the loss of limbs. Yes.
That's, the more we talk, the more frightening I find this. Working in addiction services, I've seen the full horrors
Yeah.
of alcohol addiction, and people seem to just smooth it. Oh, well, it's only this, it's only that. It's not. It's the ingestion of a poison
Yes.
on a regular basis.
Absolutely, it is. That's exactly what it is. But it's also socially enjoyable. That it's a huge business behind
Yes.
it, and I do think that's important to add, because I'm convinced that if nobody and no company made a penny of money or profit from selling alcohol, it would be very hard to get hold of.
Yeah. But it's also not just the alcohol itself, it's all the things associated with the alcohol culture that makes money. So ladies, when they go out to a nice party, they want to drink expensive alcohol in a nice dress with jewellery, possibly things that they wouldn't wear in another situation. High-heeled shoes.
Yeah.
But for me, alcohol and high heel shoes were a deadly combination, and I've still got a knee problem from falling down the stairs at the Metropole, drunk.
I have a friend who I won't mention because I don't want to embarrass her. She actually fell flat on her face after walking. It wasn't her fault because she was with that's what she says, with a boyfriend. They were both absolutely drunk, and he fell over and she tried to catch him, so they both went smashing into the pavement. She broke all her front teeth.
Oh, awful.
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 Awful. And she's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So she was mortified. You couldn't walk around and smile in public for 6 months until they were fixed.
So that's alcohol-related trauma.
Yeah. Also, alcohol lowers our core body temperature, which most people don't realise, because when you drink, it dilates your blood vessels, so you feel really warm. And you see people, in January, sitting outside in pubs wearing T-shirts at like 5 degrees Celsius, and they're not cold. But that's because the alcohol basically messes up their temperature regulation, so they don't realise they're cold, and temporarily they feel warmer because the warmth from the inside, from the core, rushes out to heat the external part of our body. But in the meantime, our core is getting colder, and that's why it's so dangerous to do crazy stuff like jump into a cold river or into the sea when you are drunk.
Yes.
And there have been many, many cases of people drowning or suffering hypothermia as a result. So if you do drink, stay warm. It's really important not to do anything crazy, because alcohol messes completely with our prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for judgment and making rational decisions.
It reduces inhibitions, alcohol.
Absolutely.
Hence why people do things like jump off a pier into the freezing cold sea and then end up with hypothermia. But also on a sexual level, women will, and men, will sleep with people that they wouldn't normally sleep with.
I know.
And there's risks attached to that.
Yes.
STIs.
Yep.
Serious ones like hepatitis and HIV.
Yep. Yes.
And but herpes is life-altering as well.
Yes.
You don't want to catch herpes on a night out just because you've had too many drinks.
And also, what's the point of sleeping with somebody if you don't even remember the next day?
Yes. Yes.
So you want it to be something you do consciously, with full volition and enthusiasm, and that you can savour all the memories for weeks to come.
Yes.
That's how I think it should be.
But to wake up, and I've been in this situation, wake up, go, oh, who's in bed with me? How did I get home? I didn't remember the guy's name. I'm thinking about one particular incident, and I just felt disgusting, hungover, violated, and I'm sure he didn't feel much better either, especially when I couldn't remember his name.
It's one of those things, isn't it? I think a tiny amount of alcohol makes people more relaxed, and although as somebody who never drinks and has never drunk, when everybody else is relaxed, automatically I relax too.
Yes.
So you don't need to drink yourself as long as somebody else does.
Get someone else drunk and then you can relax. But then again,
sorry, that's not fair. That was a bad joke. So don't do that seriously.
The flip side of that is if somebody's drinking to excess, if somebody isn't good when they're drinking, it can actually cause anxiety in people that aren't drinking.
Definitely.
I think specifically about my father's drinking, and everybody walking on eggshells around him because he was either drunk and volatile, hungover and volatile, craving a drink and volatile. Our whole family, it was like his alcoholism was so insidious it made the rest of us ill.
Yeah, definitely.
And when I'm thinking along those lines, I'm thinking, I can't think of many people, I can't think of any people actually off the top of my head that have not been negatively impacted by alcohol.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. One thing that I thought was funny, I don't know, you'll tell me if it's funny. What do you think is the drink that causes the least hangover? Or statistically, when they tested it among hundreds of people, caused the least hangover?
Vodka.
No. Vodka was number 2.
Number 2. So what would be number 1? So it would be a quite pure, clean alcohol. Tequila or mezcal?
It was pure ethanol, so pure alcohol in orange juice.
Oh, but that's not going to taste very nice.
Probably not. But I guess the pure alcohol doesn't contain any of the additives like the nitrites they add to the drinks now to make them taste better, because there was a direct correlation between the severity of somebody's hangover the following day and the number of nitrites in whatever drink or drinks they drank.
And the sugars in alcohol as well.
Well, apparently not. I know
Really?
that I've always heard that oh, that's high sugar, that'll give me a hangover. But according to the scientific research, at least that study, and the orange juice will prove it, because orange juice has lots of sugar.
Yes.
But there was no hangover afterwards.
I was thinking about when I used to drink Alka-Pops in my 20s, and Blue Wicked. I used to drink that with, and I'd top it up with extra vodka.
Yeah.
So I would use the Blue Wicked as the mixer.
Yes.
And it was a strong drink. I don't know, 5 or 6 of them. And I would have a terrible hangover.
I mean, what was Blue Wicked? Did that contain alcohol or not?
It was alcohol, yeah. So
Yeah.
it was a blue Alka-Pop that tasted, I suppose, a bit raspberry-ish, like tutti frutti-ish.
It had lots of chemical additives. And
Yeah.
it's the chemical additives that really put pressure on the liver. Because everybody knows anyway, alcohol is mainly metabolized in the liver.
Yes.
And it's that puts so much pressure on the liver and basically then causes us to get a headache, because before you get the hangover, so while you're still enjoying yourself,
Yeah.
all your blood vessels are dilated, but as your liver starts to metabolize the alcohol, blood vessels become constricted, and so that causes a headache in the brain
Yes.
and causes difficulty for the body to process any other toxins. So then other toxins, instead of being basically processed by the liver, they just go through the bloodstream to wherever they're going. If they go into the brain, it'll make you feel absolutely dreadful.
Oh, do you know, I could feel that sluggish feeling creeping over me just talking about it. I mean, so all that, the toxins in the liver, it doesn't end just where you said it, you know, it goes on.
Yeah.
You know, regular alcohol consumption causes the liver to begin to malfunction and leads to cirrhosis.
Yeah.
Cirrhotic livers can then develop tumours and liver cancer.
Yeah.
Liver cancer
It's very serious.
is a very, very serious illness.
So don't panic, because one drink every now and again is not likely to give anybody liver cirrhosis. You have to be a very heavy, regular
Yes.
drinker for that to happen. But regular drinking, so not the heavy type, but maybe one drink a night type, will nevertheless dramatically increase the risk of fatty liver.
Yes.
So what can you do about it?
Fatty liver.
So to prevent that, or to make it easier to deal with alcohol, there are several tips that we might as well find something positive.
Yes,
I
let's
think.
find something positive about alcohol. I'm going to find something positive about having a bulldog for a pillow.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, but
So
he's
gorgeous.
making my
Hello,
legs
baby.
hurt because I'm sitting
Can
at a
she
funny
come up
angle.
too?
Yeah, of course she can.
Come on, darling.
Joined by Molly.
Oh, so there we go. If you want serotonin and dopamine and lots of oxytocin, don't drink alcohol, hug a dog instead.
Yes, they definitely increase oxytocin. Don't you, darling girl?
So, because alcohol really disrupts beneficial gut flora,
Yes,
if you regularly take prebiotics and probiotics
yes,
before and after you drink, and ideally drink, a probiotic mix while intersperse it with your alcohol, that really can compensate for the damage it does to the gut flora. So that's
Yes.
one really positive thing. Second great thing to do is take herbs that really support the liver. So most of you wise women out there will probably have heard of
milk thistle.
milk thistle, artichoke.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Artichoke's great for the liver.
Yes,
Turmeric, which is this multi-blessed Ayurvedic spice that is always in curry. Turmeric is very good for the liver as well.
I take a turmeric supplement every day, even though I don't drink on a regular basis. I do it because it reduces inflammation
It does.
all through the body.
It does.
Even Molly has turmeric.
It's wonderful. Well done, Molly.
She goes, I don't like it very much, and I'll try and
Oh, of
eat
course you
around
do.
it.
Oh, good girl. But it's very good for you. It's very good for you.
It
Yeah.
is.
So lots of antioxidants are also
Yes.
great, because any anti-inflammatory antioxidant helps to mitigate the inflammation caused by the alcohol, because alcohol can, we didn't say this, it can go everywhere. One of the reasons it's so addictive but also so risky is because alcohol is both fat soluble and water soluble. So it gets right inside every single cell of our body.
Yes.
You can't say, oh,
Yes.
that part of my body won't be affected or won't be damaged by the alcohol. There isn't a part that doesn't get damaged.
That it damages the
Mitochondria.
Yes.
Mitochondria.
Mitochondria.
That's right.
That is a big word.
Yeah.
Molly, are you impressed that I said mitochondria?
Yes,
I've
ma'am.
said it
Very
twice now.
We practiced this earlier.
Mitochondria.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things that energize the mitochondria are B vitamins, and
Yes.
we need B vitamins, especially folate and B12,
Yes.
to actually do the two-step detoxification, not just of alcohol, but any toxin that the liver has to process,
Yes.
because the liver is the body's waste processing unit.
Yes.
Every toxin that we have to process, that our body has to deal with, is sent to the liver and needs to be processed there. So having regular alcoholic drinks really depletes B vitamins,
Yes.
and therefore especially B9 and B12 are very beneficial for liver detox. And there have been some tests, I don't know how big they were, but some tests that indicated people who regularly take B12 supplements and folate supplements suffer less severely from a hangover than people who don't.
Yes. I mean, there are clinics where you can go for a vitamin B12 shot. I love them because when I have them I feel really good.
Yeah.
But if somebody's drinking on a regular basis, to go and have that shot was really beneficial to them.
Yeah.
And you know, I wish they wouldn't vomit on camera or make that. So that's 2 episodes now that has been violated by dog vomit. No, she didn't throw up actually. She just made a funny retching sound.
Puppies don't do this at home.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so there's things you could do.
yeah. So because of the mitochondria damage,
Yes.
alcohol can cause cancer in every part of the body,
Yeah.
from head and neck,
Yes.
breast, stomach, liver, bone. Where else can it do? Skin? I suppose it must be able
It
to do
increases
skin.
the risk of melanoma,
Yeah.
yes. So, because I find melanoma, this is a completely different subject, but I find it fascinating because there are people who don't go into the sun
Yes.
who get melanoma.
Yes.
So if there was a direct correlation between sun exposure and melanoma, how would that happen? And very, very often the melanoma is on parts of the body that are never exposed to actual UV light. So, you know, somewhere under an armpit or on the sole of somebody's foot.
Yes.
But there is a strong link between low vitamin D and melanoma.
Yes.
So keep up those vitamin D
Yes.
levels, I would say.
Vitamin D as well.
Yeah.
You can get those in shots at clinic as well.
Yeah.
And there's not vitamin D isn't something you should take too much of because it can have a negative impact on the body.
So vitamin D mobilizes calcium in the
Yes.
body. So it's always very useful to take vitamin K2
yes.
along with the vitamin D, because the K2 is like the guide for the
Yeah.
calcium. So if you have K2 along with your vitamin D, it will guide the calcium from whatever food to your bones where it's needed and stop it being mobilized by the vitamin D and going to places where it shouldn't be, like breast tissue or other
Yes.
places. So I would say it's good in winter to take pretty high vitamin D doses, but always take it with K2. And there are masses of supplements you can buy that
Yes.
have D mixed with the K2 already integrated into it.
Because I use, I believe the supplement that I use has K2 and vitamin D in
That's
it.
good.
It's a multivitamin for women over the age of 45. Not that I am over the age of 45.
But you're preventatively taking it, right?
No, I am.
You don't look it.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean there are plus points to alcohol as well. I mean, you think about sitting down with watching a mixologist make a beautiful cocktail for you. That can make you feel really spoiled and pampered, and it is a nice treat and a nice reward every now and then.
It is.
I know when I go to Glyndebourne, I know this is a bit of a bourgeois pursuit, isn't it?
Oh, I love you.
I love Glyndebourne. I love hearing the sound of the champagne corks in
Yeah.
the garden.
Oh, yes.
And everybody's laughing. and sitting in the sun, eating beautiful food, wearing lovely clothes.
My favourite part is actually the picnic and being outdoors.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to buy standing room tickets and not have a nice seat. And standing room is way more affordable than the proper seats. But enjoy the whole dinner around the table, wearing a gorgeous long evening dress.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then I would have a glass of champagne in that situation. But I did actually ruin an afternoon at Glyndebourne by going over the top. This is one of the points where I really thought, I don't want to drink on a regular basis anymore. I went with dearest David and 2 friends, and we took champagne with us. 1 bottle, of course, isn't enough, so off I trot to the bar, and I'd also taken a bottle of mead to add to the champagne to make these little cocktails, ad hoc cocktails.
Lovely.
So knocked this back in the sunshine. Didn't eat very much, because when I start to drink, and it might be true for other people, it suppresses my appetite. And I'm not one of those people that gets all quiet and sleepy. The alcohol boosts me. I'll become wide awake, super energetic. And Andrew Huberman says the people that become super energetic on alcohol are more likely to become alcoholics than those that go to sleep.
That's right. Yes, because going to sleep isn't that addictive. Why would you want it? But if you feel energised and alive and fabulous, that's a good feeling.
So after this, David managed to get me in the car and get me home. And I get here, I start to feel unwell because of the acid feeling in my stomach. I end up throwing up. And David found me on the bathroom floor with my head down the toilet in a pool of wee. Because I threw up so hard, I wet myself. There was nothing cool and glamorous about that. It all started off beautifully and ended up horribly. And alcohol for me, and I'm sure for many people, ruins social occasions. It can enhance them when done in moderation, but the flip side, weddings, funerals, Christmas days, I can think of a number of experiences that I have ruined or have had ruined by somebody else who has drunk too much.
Well, it is a poison. Well, however you look at it. One thing I'd like to add, a lovely doctor who I really do believe in, told me that in his opinion, tiny amounts of alcohol, that would be maybe half a glass of, or quarter, let's say, a quarter glass of wine, maybe once a week. So you could say almost homeopathic amounts are good for you. Because every now and again, it will relax you more. It's such a small amount, then you have days and days without any alcohol, so the liver can beautifully clean itself, get rid of it all, and all your hormones will be where they should be. But you don't miss out on, that feeling of being, because being involved inside a social situation, because we all want to belong, and we love to feel, like we have something in common with the people around us. So because I have not drunk all my life, I've got used to being included, fortunately, even though I didn't drink. But I think that's because I was a girl. So I did observe that the peer pressure on blokes to drink was sometimes quite strong. And I just think that's so wrong.
Oh, my dad's starting point. He was Glaswegian. He's like, real men drink. Real men can handle their alcohol. And they used to beg each other, come on mate, let's have another another pint. Obviously I'm not very good at doing a Glaswegian accent, but there's the male camaraderie. You think about men that are serving in the military, they go out and they drink. They drink hard.
And if you do it occasionally, that's fine. But the trouble is, it's so addictive.
Then the way of getting over a hangover is to have another drink, hair of the
dog. Exactly.
And to do that over the course of a weekend, say Friday night, Saturday lunchtime, Saturday night into the Sunday, your body hasn't got any time to clear itself of alcohol.
It's mad what we do to ourselves.
So what do you think the solution is to alcohol, Danielle?
I think the solution is, first of all, to really educate yourself about what it does to you, and to decide what kind of person you want to be. Because from my point of view, the biggest freedom is for me, is to feel happy when I choose to feel happy,
Yes.
and to feel relaxed and at peace and usually at one with the world, just by being, and not because of a substance I've just consumed that for the next hour makes me feel fabulous,
Yes.
and then I have to consume more of it. So I'm miserable lots of the time. That's not what I mean. I mean to feel happy. There are so many things I will do. I will get a really good night's sleep and then go for a swim in the sea with my mates at 7 in the morning. Or I'll go for a great walk with my dogs and then hug them like crazy and play with them.
Yes.
Or I'll see my girlfriend.
Yes, which
and
is an important
over
thing.
a cappuccino.
Yes.
Or over, a cup of tea.
Yes.
Or I'll go dancing. Or I'll go to the gym and do yoga. Exactly.
Yeah.
And all these things really make me feel happy.
Being out in sunlight.
Oh my goodness.
Without sunscreen.
One of my favourites. Sunbathing. Oh, I love it.
Cold water swimming is,
Yes.
it's just that, getting into cold water, for me, it's the same as having a glass of champagne or a line of something or
It's way
whatever.
better because
It's
there are
way
no
better.
negative consequences.
It's
You feel
only-
amazing all day.
Yeah, and I've actually signed up for a Wim Hof yoga retreat.
Oh, well done,
So
my goodness, well
we're going to
done.
be doing dips in cold water and then some lovely yoga, and it's a day with other like-minded people.
I might want to join you with that.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Great.
Yes, I'll email my friend.
Email me, please.
Yes. So,
That would be lovely.
yeah.
Yeah, so I know this sounds so facile, but if you can just increase the number of things you do to make you happy that don't have any negative side effects, that don't kill your brain, because alcohol, even small amounts, kill brain cells
Yes.
all the time,
Yes.
that don't make you feel dreadful the next morning, that don't damage your liver, that don't reduce your core temperature and put you more at risk of illness, the better for it, the
And I
better you
think
are.
Drinking
Oh my
and
goodness,
driving.
drunk
I
driving.
don't think anyone should even have one or two without drinks and then get behind the wheel of a car. They need to have a substantial break between the drink and the driving. So if it's 1 unit of alcohol, at least an hour and something to eat.
And ideally, lots of water with electrolytes,
Yes.
because alcohol depletes us of electrolytes, depletes us of hydration, and so you won't be functioning normally.
Yeah.
And the trouble with drink driving, and I'm glad you mentioned that, is that drinking, it messes with our rational thinking and
Yes.
also with our coordination.
Yes.
So you don't know that you are basically risking a car accident by drinking some alcohol.
I remember a very arrogant ex-boyfriend who was also an ex-policeman. He said, I'm a better driver when I've had a drink.
Oof.
And I found that was one of the red flags that led me to leaving him.
Yeah.
But clearly he's not.
No.
But it was just all ego.
Yes. Yeah. And I always get a bit jealous because I find that people who have alcoholic drinks receive them in beautiful glasses,
Yes.
maybe with some pretty fruits and pretty flowers,
Yes.
and somebody who just wants a mineral water gets a bog standard boring glass with no decoration at all.
Yes.
And that is a basically surreptitious way of pushing people to drink an alcoholic beverage instead of drinking just a fruit juice.
Yes. But alcohol also, when you're holding a beautiful cocktail, it feels ladylike
It
and
does.
elegant.
It
Because
does.
when I say if I was in a cocktail bar, I'd order something like a Gibson Martini because I don't want the sugar, and I want this elegant drink to hold.
Yes. And it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And while you drink it, you feel fabulous.
Yes.
Yes.
But
You're
then,
a glamorous lady of the
Yeah.
world.
but then throwing up behind the bins out the back of the cocktail bar a few hours later is not glamorous.
Just a bit less glamorous.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So, in a nutshell, what do you think? So, I mean, you asked me, and that's about alcohol. I think it's very important to minimise how much you drink every day and make sure it's something special. Even like having, I don't know, a box of chocolates. Every now and again, having a couple of chocolates is gorgeous. But you'd never eat a box of chocolates every day.
No.
It would just make you feel, I guess, sluggish, and you put on weight too easily.
Well, it's
irritating.
another drug. Sugar
Yeah.
is a psychoactive substance.
It is.
Just
It
like
is.
alcohol.
Alcohol is way worse.
Yes.
Sugar is way easy. Not that I recommend eating too much sugar by any means, but sugar is far easier for the body to metabolize than alcohol is.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have an addiction, then some sweet treat is way less harmful than a glass of whiskey or champagne.
But I think actually looking at the root causes that underlie our need to have little dopamine hits is because we are all essentially addicted to dopamine.
Yes.
And to combat the need for that is to find peace and be in homeostasis.
Yes.
Because finding that balance of not being overexcited or depressed it's just a more peaceful way to be.
Yes.
Anna Lemke has written a book called Dopamine Nation, where she talks about being addicted to alcohol.
To the highs.
Yeah. And Andrew Huberman is another good guy to listen to about
Andrew
alcohol.
Huberman's really good.
Yeah.
So
I like him.
Yes. He's very rational and clear.
Yes. And not lectury.
Yes.
Because actually when it comes to being told or talking about alcohol, I found that lecturing clients on the harms of alcohol would get their backs up and make them want to drink more. So everything that we've said today is suggestive only. We're not trying to lecture you or coerce you into not drinking. Just looking at understanding the substances that you're putting in your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And also because nowadays, for many of us, life is stressful. And for some people, life can be intolerably stressful. And so, of course, you look for something to take the edge off. I mean, it's the most natural thing in the world. But the best thing, I believe, ideally to do is not always make the automatic response, let's have a drink. Occasionally, go for it, absolutely. Yeah. Especially if you're with a girlfriend or with a boyfriend and, it's a special occasion. But going for a walk in the mornings, if you can walk, if your legs are okay. Or just, even if you have some disability and you're in a wheelchair, putting on really great music and just jiggling to it.
Yeah.
All these things raise our happiness levels, they raise dopamine, they raise serotonin, and they're good for us.
The CBD oils is
CBD oils.
Really effective in reducing cravings.
Well, that's important.
I don't know how it works. I need to probably look at David Nutt a little bit more, but it settles everything down.
It's we have millions of cannabinoid receptors throughout our brain and body, and so the CBD oil is a very natural, I would say beneficial way of giving those receptors what they need without taking some dangerous drug.
Yes.
And so it's a plant that's been around everywhere, and that's another conversation to have. Why it was vilified, that plant?
Yes, because
hemp is the most wonderful plant.
It is. I take hemp every day in some form or another. There are so many great. I like to balance it with the THC, so I have the full spectrum, and it keeps me anxiety free, balanced, clear thinking.
And especially for people in chronic pain, it's one of the best and safest ways of reducing, their suffering basically, without any negative long-term side effects.
Or addiction. Yeah.
So, let's say in a nutshell, alcohol is one of those special things that if you can just enjoy in true moderation and get a craving for freshly squeezed vegetable and fruit juices instead, or enjoy your shot of coffee every now and again, or your shot of morning swim in the icy water, instead of drinking it regularly, then it's absolutely fine and it's wonderful and it's part of the network of life.
Yes.
But anything that you have to do every evening, every day, just to feel okay, is a risk.
It's
a risk and is something you really want to look at carefully. And if you can, try to wean yourself off it.
Yes, gently.
Gently and with love.
Yes, always with love. Treat yourself with love. So that's something to hold before you take the next sip of alcohol is, am I being kind and loving to myself by taking this drink?
Yes.
I think that wraps it up nicely. So if you like what we're doing, press the subscribe,
subscribe button.
So, because as soon as we get 1,000 subscribers, we can start going live. Please leave questions, comments below, and we'd be happy to chat with you.
We will. If you have any questions or thoughts at all, just drop them below our chat. Lovely to talk to you. Lovely to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you. And lovely to talk to Molly and Cosmo too. So, goodbye.
Bye.
Dibber never dibs. Oh no, that's getting embarrassing.